Welcome, guys. Sorry about um, that last video. So, I'm going to have to invite someone, which will be Isaac. So happy solstice. This is going to be about the solstice, and that's the spring. You see, it's all you just have to know the ecliptic, follow the holy dates.
Logical, and it's from the foundation of the creation of this realm. And the summer solstice, the spring equinox, the equinoxes and solstices are these four holy days that are separate, or kodesh, as they would say in Hebrew. They are separate holy days, separate days that are different than all of these other days that we're dealing with in our normal calendar. And it's really truly beautiful how they're the beginning of our seasons. Literally, life changes. You see the frequency of your environment around you change the moment that you enter a solstice, the moment that you enter an equinox. And these are really like portal type days as well. You can manifest and walk yourself into a new reality if you are um, operating on a different frequency on that day of the solstice or on that day of the equinox, and you can move into that frequency that you were acting on the solstice and equinox throughout the next 90 days to be in that next season. And it's really a powerful day for us to be, really manifesting the life that we want to for the next 6 months. And guys, obviously we all feel the shifts taking place worldwide right now. We all feel the tension. We can all feel that Mars and Uranus square coming to an end. We could feel that tight tension from Mars and Uranus, and then we can feel that restrictive elusiveness as well from Saturn and Neptune being basically right on top of one another in Aries. It's almost like it's a dream, but it's a restrictive dream, and it's a dream that's trying to make you wake up from the dream simultaneously as Saturn's trying to get you to be grounded down into reality and be on top of your habits and all of these things. And so, really grateful that we were able to go live today, Brother Santos. What are your thoughts on the importance of the frequency that every individual is in as they are going into these equinoxes and solstices? What are your thoughts?
They're turning points in your life. They are the seasons, the days of our lives. And they are the markers on the ecliptic.
Mm.
That's why they're holy, because they are wormholes, they're portals, they're doors. You
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
they are the tropical. See, this is the tropical cross, which
Mm.
which shows you that if a sundial is in the middle, that you have Capricorn down here, because in the winter you get a long shadow, and then we're here now, right on top
Mm.
of Sinai, and
Yes, we are.
and we are um, celebrating that day. We've reached the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So this is these are the seasons and the 12 labors of Hercules, or the 12. They're really 12 seasons. They're very subtle to.
Really, truly, truly.
You don't. You've got 12 chromatic notes, but you can't just play four of them, right? So
Right.
it's this is describing the sine wave. This is the symbol of the sine wave. Everything is waves.
Mm.
Walter Russell, the secret of creation lies in the wave.
Yeah.
You want to understand nature, understand it in terms of frequency, vibration, energy, frequency, vibration.
Now,
Right?
you mentioned
So,
earlier that the entire ecliptic is actually in the Bible, and that most of these stories are based on the ecliptic in the Bible. true or not true, the Circuit of Galilee is the ecliptic itself, yes?
Yeah, well, that's what Strong's Concordance says.
Okay.
Yeah,
Expand on that more, please.
Strong's Concordance is the concordance for checking the Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic
Hmm.
etymology, root of that word, which
Yeah.
is translated English. So you've got to go to the Strong's Concordance and you check out, punch in the Circuit of Galilee, and it'll tell you that that's the ecliptic.
Mm. Wow. And so, you know, when Jesus is walking on the circuit of Galilee, does that mean that there was an actual individual who was walking along a path and, you know, telling all these other people to come follow me and you know, lead this religious wave? Or is that a metaphor for one of these heavenly luminary bodies passing through the heavens?
Yeah, well, the scriptures are astrotheology, not just theology. You know, there's astrotheology.
Mm.
That's the astro part of theology. It should be. It's like electromagnetism. You can't separate. Well, you can, but we use the term electromagnetism, right? So why did they throw away the astro when
Mm.
they kept pastor and minister, and they went to a monastery, and
Mm.
that's all got stars in it. So has the Bible got stars in it? I wonder. Well, yes, it does. Job 38:32. Do you know the Mazzaroth, Job? Can you tell forth the seasons? Do you know when Orion's coming? Do you know when Ursa Major, the
Mm.
the the ladle, the big one, the big pot handle? What's that one called? The Big Dipper.
Yeah, yeah.
So Ursa Major's, it's in the Bible. In Amos, chapter 5, verse 7, I think it is, it says, take note of the seven stars of Orion,
Mm. Mm.
because
Mm.
Orion is an hourglass. It's in the shape of an
Ah.
hourglass, okay?
Ah.
Yeah, because see, why is there an S always in front of the T? There's
Mm.
always a serpent, a naga, which Jesus was, a naga, right?
A naga. Okay. More on
Yeah,
this, please. Expand more.
well, that's space time. There you go. That's our crucifixion. Our crucifixion is that our experience is in space time, time space. So they removed the serpent, they put Jesus in the middle, which it doesn't matter. That's the symbol of the sine wave,
Yeah, yeah.
whether you or not. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it's just a symbol for the wave.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now,
Not
there's
a,
many people out there in the world, though, Santos, who believe that that relic that you're holding up right now is a relic to pay homage and honor to what many have called the Son of God. And they see this individual's life as something that is exemplary and something that they need to live up to and something that they need to turn the other cheek when people, you know, disrespect them and so on and so forth, you know, all these different Christian sayings that we've been taught, not only in our society, but amongst our friends and so forth. And, you know, there's many people who think that that's what that truth is, but, and you know, God is the light of the world and the life of the world and all of these things. But what you're describing right now is sounding a lot like what it's really about is that the cross is actually a marker for the solstices and the equinoxes, for the literal Son of God, the sun, the literal sun that is at its highest point today. And that sun is what is giving life and light to all of us. None of us would have life. None of us would have food if it wasn't for that sun. If that sun wasn't emitting ultra weak photon emissions, and then those ultra weak photon emissions going into our food, and then our food turning those ultra weak photon emissions into minerals, and then either you eat those minerals or you consume second source minerals by eating the animals that ate those minerals, right? And that's how you have sustained and maintained vitality and life force up to this point. Because you're either getting first source sunlight energy from the Son of God as it passes through the cross, always and forever, as it is the Son of God, right? Or you're getting second source sunlight energy because you're eating animals. But regardless, if it wasn't for the sun, none of us would be here right now. None of us would have sustained life. None of us would have sustained energy or vitality or anything like that. And it's so beautiful, this example that the sun has, that the sun really is compared to all these other luminary bodies. You know, I talk to Vedic astrologer and I talk to people who are into Vedic astrology, and you know, there's beautiful modalities and ways to learn about astrology when you're speaking with someone in the Vedic realm or the Jyotish realm, and you know, learning about the nakshatras is a fascinating thing. But regardless of all these other modalities, there's nothing more consistent than the sun. And that's why it's king of the heavens. That's why it rules the heavens. And that's why it is the Son of God. We literally get all of our life force from the sun. If it wasn't for its ultra-weak photon emissions, we wouldn't have vitamins and minerals. If it wasn't for its consistency of never going retrograde and never shining all of its light, we wouldn't have life. If it changed its path even a little bit, if it decided to go retrograde for a day, for a week, for whatever, if it decided to not shine as bright anywhere in any of its placements on any of its path, everything about our ecosystem in this world would turn imbalanced. And you know, it's truly the Son of God that's giving us life and light, and it would be absolutely impossible to partake in the beauty of this absolutely magical realm. That, you know, your attitude determines your altitude in this realm, and that attitude of how grateful you are with taking action and being like the sun and piercing your environment around you and smiling like the sun, that's going to determine your altitude, right? But if you're a very Saturnian individual, you're very cold and restricted, and you're very, shadow-based, and you're really trying to work behind the scenes and in the dark and all that stuff, yeah, you may live a good life, but are you going to max out your capabilities? I can't say that that's the truth. Why? Because the sun is the perfect example of how to live in this realm. It's always consistent. It always shows up on time. And the solstices and equinoxes are what show us that it always shows up on time. The solstices and equinoxes are the difference maker. Compared to all other modalities in astrology, it's the solstices and equinoxes that make the sun king. And you touched briefly on the Naga serpent kings. If you could dive more into that, Santos, and how this Naga serpent cult was really not a cult, but really a way of observing the luminary bodies all around the world, not just in Egypt, but really all around the world, in Cambodia even. If you could expand more on that, Santos, I'm sure that everyone would love to hear more.
Well, Naga here in Mexico is Nagual. Nagual, and its opposite is tonal. Ton, all is a ton. So Nagual, Naga is black light, and that's where the N word comes from that I can't say, because they were the teachers. Yeah. So
wait, are you saying that bad word is a derivative of a demonization of a good word?
yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
okay.
Because the Egyptians were black, the Indians are black, in Australia they're black,
Yeah.
black, Uh, yeah. So they're the teacher class. Okay, so
Correct.
um, so and that's the yin and yang, black and white, nagual y tonal, tonal.
Mm,
It's spelt the same way as you say tonal. So
mm,
ton is white light, all is a ton, and it's opposite to negate, naga, to negate negative black energy, which is the source. White light is the force, hence not may the force be with you, may the source be with you.
mm,
So you can be a
mm,
sorcerer, and the sorcerer is black.
mm. Mm. Now hold
Because
on, hold on. You're talking about
that's
this word sorcerer. Sorcerer. What are they? What are they? What are they sourcing? What is this sorcery that these sorcerers are sourcing?
access to the field, full access to the field. Expand your consciousness and elevate it so that you can access more knowledge, more capacitance,
Mm.
more more remembering. So people talk about meditating, but meditating is only one half of inquiring.
Mm.
Yeah, is you just can't just meditate. You have to inquire as well. You have to investigate and inquire and meditate using the mind correctly. The eight
Mm.
correctnesses of the Hindu system. So this naga, to negate, is negative. All these words are all the same. They all rooted in black.
Yeah.
Okay. So for instance, uh, well, I lost my train of thought. But if we go back to the monad, the white and black yin and yang, then we get the matrix below it, which is the red and white one, which is on your Pepsi logo, which is on the South Korean flag. And there's only
Mm.
two, black and white, the monad, and then drop down, you got red shift, blue shift, the world of Satan and Jesus, good and evil, the
Yeah. Yeah.
demiurgos, and now you've got the red pill and the blue pill, red blood, blue blood. Republicans are red, Democrats are blue, dividing the world. Roses are red, violets are blue. Little girls get red, little boys, baby boys get blue. The police siren and the ambulance siren is red and blue.
Mm.
To polarize, it's polarization. When white light comes out of black light, the monad, the Christ, the light, because that's what Christ is, God is light.
Yeah.
So when that white light splits through the prism, what happens?
Mm.
Redshift, and then
Santos, my
settles in.
screen is frozen, brother. My screen is frozen. I'm gonna exit real quick. You keep talking, but then just accept me when I request to rejoin, okay? But you can go ahead and keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, so I was saying everything is in this world is redshift, blue shift, and that's what quantum physics and science teaches. I learned this at school when I went to college, that when white light, which is indivisible, goes through a prism, redshift first happens, and then simultaneously, even though they say red is first, it's the first color. Adam was the first man, and Adam means red. Then simultaneously, at the same instant, blue appears. And then the third, green. It settles in the middle, which is in the middle chakra. And here you have blue, and your bottom chakra is red. So your body knows about electromagnetism. So why does it settle in the middle, in green? Well, when you go to the printers, you get your RGB, don't you? Red, green, and blue. See how green is in the middle? Red is first, blue, R, the polarization of the demiurge, which is the red shift, blue shift world. And this is where everybody's doing their thinking. They're not going into the monad. They're not resting in the black light, in the naga, because that's what a teacher is. He's a naga. And that's what Jesus was. And naga also means the serpent king, the serpent teacher. Take your pick. It's your free choice. But Jesus was a naga, therefore he was black. Why do you see a black Madonna? Why do you see a black Jesus? Why do you see a white Jesus? Why do you see a beautiful white Madonna like you have here in Mexico? Because it's always going to be talking about Jesus being the source, black light, but he's also the sun, magnetism, white light. Black light is dielectricity. White light is magnetism. Black light is rest. White light is motion. Rest, motion. Rest, motion. Where do we go when we leave this world? We go to the resting place of Christ. Christ means black. That's what it means. It means black light. Yes, that's what it means. It also means white light. So, and it means rest, crest, Christ. To go to Christ means to go to crest, to go to our rest. Okay, I got to add.
Colonialism changed the world, but the most
To go to Christ is to go to crest, to go to our rest. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that.
Because the crest of the wave is where the energy rests. If you get a ball, or if you're on a roller coaster, you go fast when you're going down, then you go fast as you're going up, and then you stop and you rest at the crest.
Mm.
Wave.
Yeah.
So
Christ
gets crucified, he gets rested 4 times a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
Beautiful. And it's going back to the whole just sunlight as energy thing, like it's so easy to be Christ-like or to christen yourself the more sunlight energy that you are consuming, obviously physically, number one, but intellectually, emotionally, spiritually as well. But that physical portion really heightens everything else, because here's the thing, it's all sunlight energy, right? And so the more sunlight energy, first source, single source sunlight energy we are consuming, the more you can speed up your own spiritual awakening, your own crucifixion, your own Christ consciousness, which can also be conceived as and perceived as Krishna consciousness. And Krishna, translated in the Greek, is Christos. And so all these different terms are really talking about this light form that is embodying itself into all of these different modalities that we can consume it in, whether it's via food or via crystal, right? And it's just such a beautiful thing. And guys, the more, but I have to emphasize the fact that so many of these spiritual movements, for example, the Essenes, they were a vegetarian society. And why were they vegetarian? Probably because they wanted first source light. And them wanting first source light, they were true Helio-Gnostics, or true Christians or Christians, embodying that Christ-like light. And so, Santos, if you could expand some more on the Essenes and why they would have lived a vegetarian lifestyle. Why would they have done that to try and be the followers of the Christ?
the Therapeutae, the Essenes, there were many of these. Sometimes they were called Christians, sometimes they were called Jews, but they were essentially
They were they were what? It cut out.
syncretism.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So when you hear in history that the Jews are persecuted or the Christians were persecuted, that was killing of the syncretism, because the perennial philosophy, which always has been, always is, always will be, is the teachings of syncretism, which are Christian, Jewish, uh, Hindu, because they all agree. There's no difference in any of the scriptures at all, at all. And if you don't know that, you haven't done your comparative studies. You must be a comparative researcher. You know what we were talking about before about the rest of Christ? Well, what did the Egyptians call Christ? They called him Cresta. Yeah.
Mm.
Why are why is the last Hebrew four letters of the last of the Hebrew language, why are they QRST? Christ.
Mm.
And it ends with a T.
Mm.
It ends with Tav. So why is Kaf, Resh, Shin, and Tav, Christ, hiding at the end of the Hebrew alphabet? Because the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet tells you that Christ has rested, crashed. And what's it doing hiding in the English language? QRSTU. Well, I just spelled Christu, didn't I? Christu in Latin,
Mm.
Christu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just hiding right there in the English language. Well, that's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It really is fascinating. It really is fascinating. And, it's, again, going back to the consistency of the sun and how the sun is making a differentiation with its path and with its movement that sets it apart from all the other luminary bodies. It's the only consistent one that never goes retrograde. It never shines any less light. It's always shining the max amount of light wherever it is. Now, based on whether or not you get that much light is based on where you are and the seasons and all of that. But it really shows us that, yes, it's this source of light and life, but it's also the most consistent one when being compared to all of the other luminary bodies. And as Santos said, guys, you want to be doing your comparative studies. You want to be overturning every stone. You want to walk on the spiritual path. You want to walk on the path of spiritual refinement. You want to walk on the path of, treating people better and leading a life where you're giving more than you're taking and treating others the way that you want to be treated. Okay, do that. Absolutely do that. And begin that spiritual path. Begin that spiritual refinement. Begin that, being in service to those around you. Absolutely. And study all the different spiritual modalities, but overturn every stone. Don't get comfortable with coming across one belief system and think, oh, this is absolute truth because this feels good to me and it's letting me get away with enough of the bad things that I want to do, but it's also forgiving me for the bad things that I'm not necessarily the best at controlling myself with right now. And instead, I'm just going to see myself as, here in this belief system, and here we are in a spiritual hierarchy, and if you don't believe like me, well, then you're going to hell. Well, how many people do we think that are currently living that way? Or how many people do we currently see that are living that way? And there's billions of people all around the world who live that way. Whether it's within the Christian faith, or whether it's within the Judaic faith, or whether it's within the Islamic faith. There's so many different belief systems where they are belying the lie. They're believing the lie. There's not enough truth in what they're seeking as far as the spiritual refinement. But when you lean into the inclinations that Spirit is giving you to overturn every stone. Because here's the thing, Spirit is going to give you the guidance. Spirit is going to give you the guidance for you to go on to the next step. Now, whether or not you listen to that nudge to turn another page, to overturn that stone, to go check out the Krishna consciousness meeting that your friends invited you to go look at the similarities between the Essenes and the disciples, to go look at why just the sun's path dying on the cross of the solstices and equinoxes is so similar to the story of this individual Jesus who supposedly died on a cross. And unless you do these comparative studies, you're leaving potential on the table of what you can do. And it's for us to all max out our potential. You want to be overturning every stone. You want to be doing all these comparative studies. And if you don't do all these comparative studies, there's so much potential of how many people you can impact in this world and truly be a light in your own world to all of those around you. And when that book says, "Oh, you will do greater things than I," or "You will do things like I and even greater," that's what this metaphor is really talking about. By you understanding that we all have this Christ within, especially if you are preserving your Christ within and you are partaking in raising your sacred secretion once a month, every month, when the moon is passing through your sun sign, as the moon stimulates all activity in the body. And now, Santos, if you could expand some more on what that is. We've been talking a bit about the sun's path and dying on the cross of the solstices and equinoxes, and that being the true Christian worship. But there's also a deeper esoteric metaphor to what really being Christ-like is, and that has a lot to do with the moon passing through our individual sun sign. For those who haven't heard you share on that yet, could you expand a little bit about what that would be?
Yeah, so encoded and encrypted in sacred scripture, there are many, many levels of fields of science. So one of them is the alchemical process of ascension. So Christ is the sacred secretion which comes from the claustrum, just below the cerebrum. Claustrum is to closet. They have the same root, so it's a little closet. And so, in the nursery rhymes, it's the claustrum is Santa Claustrum, because it's the holy claustrum.
Yeah.
That's where Santa Claus at the North Pole is living, the claustrum. And he gives gifts when he goes down the chimney to the solar plexus, which is the fireplace, right? So the secretion, the oil, Christ means oil, comes from the claustrum, goes down to the third ventricle, gets differentiated with the pituitary body and the pineal gland, and the pituitary sends a positive energy through the Pingala, pineal gland. Both have pine, okay? And then the pituitary down the ida is a negative. Okay, so that oil was perfect when it began its journey down. When Santa Claus at the North Pole climbs down the chimney, it was perfect. It had all the gifts. It was undifferentiated. Now it's sitting in the third ventricle, the tomb, where you've got to come back to get crucified. So it's sitting there, and it's just been split.
Mm.
And then as it goes down to the thyroid, it gets differentiated more and diluted more. And then it goes down to the thymus. That's timeness. Everything,
Ah.
all is a time. And thymus means twin. And if you look at that gland, it's a twin. So your
Mm.
thymus, okay, Thomas, the twin.
Yeah.
So it gets differentiated again, and then it goes down to your renals and your the others, and gets differentiated again. And then so it's now what it has to do, it has to be recombined, and through an chemical process, which is enhanced through sexuality, not the wrong kind, right? You raise the chrism, because that's what it's called. If you look at the Greek word in your medical encyclopedia, that fluid that comes from the claustrum is called chrism. Well, fancy that. So that's why when Jesus said to Nicodemus, he said, if you do not raise the serpent like Moses did in the wilderness, you'll not be born again. So you have to raise that Christ. So every month when the moon transits your sun sign, in my case Aries, in yours Taurus, that's the time for you to be fasting and abstaining and from excitement or stimulation, anger, things like that. Because what's happening is the moon is planting a psychophysical seed in your solar plexus. Every month, you get 13 months, you get 13 chances at this every month. Christ is born in your solar plexus, a psychosomatic seed, which then, if you look after it, it will proceed to go back up and along the 30 to 33 degrees of the spinal column. Spine has pine in it again, right? And sitting on top of it is the pineal gland. That Jacob ascended Jacob's ladder, and he said when he got there, he saw God, and he called it Penuel, the pineal gland, and Pinocchio, which means the third eye. Pinocchio, occhio is ocular. Story of Pinocchio becoming a real man. So what happens is when you ascend that chrism, and then it gets to the atlas bone, that bone there, when you say yes, the name of Christ, that when the oil gets to there, it gets crucified at the medulla oblongata, and then that's where Mary and Joseph, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, are waiting in the third ventricle for that electrical charge or that chrism to return to that place so that it can be reunified again. And it goes into the fornix, and in the fornix, just behind the medulla oblongata, are the pillars of Hercules. They are called the I forget the word now, but if you look up the fornix, you'll see that it's got two pillars at the back. An electrical charge at that moment is discharged through the middle of those pillars. That's why Samson goes through the middle, breaks the two pillars in the temple, and that's why Hercules breaks the two pillars, because that electrical I would say what's the god of fire? Promethean fire that hits the back of the fornix, and then all the dormant brain cells in the cerebrum are reactivated. And voila, you have consciousness. That's why young boys are sent to a seminary to become what? You see, young boys, if you wanted to be a priest, you went to a seminary, seaman. If you
Yeah.
be a doctor, you go to a college or a university. So
Right.
why do young boys get sent to a seminary to do God's work? Because they are taught that unless they ejaculate sexually, they will never what's the word, to fertilize. See, when you ejaculate, you're fertilizing another body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And creating another body. But when you ejaculate as a boy, instead of throwing away that Christic energy, right? Yeah, there is a better word. You are germinating or becoming a man
Right.
by the word will come to me in fertilizing oneself. You see, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what they were taught. But then those were usurped after Tartaria was destroyed by the Jesuits, and they, instead of teaching them what to do with sexuality, they sodomize them and teach them to ejaculate. So all these kids that start having sex at 11, 12 these days, they're all having the wrong kind of sex, because what they're doing now, boys and girls will always be boys and girls. They'll grow old, but they will never grow up. Boys will be boys and girls will be girls forever and ever, playing in this little entangled web of material filth, and not knowing that their whole purpose here is to disentangle yourself from materialism
Mm.
and get to your source. So how to do that is by never, ever ejaculating, ever. So,
Mm.
yeah. So I've been practicing that since 2012, and the benefits are great, because I remember it took me 5 years to get the discipline to do it. In the meantime, I was with my wife and practicing grey tantra, not white tantra, which is a mix of both. Black tantra is always ejaculating. And so that's the left-hand path, and the right-hand path, back to ascension, as Baphomet teaches. Baphomet is always pointing with his right hand up. The
Mm-hmm.
right path, the sheep on the right and the goats on the left. So
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are the ejaculators. And the pastors at their churches, they're not teaching them anything about what they used to teach in the seminaries back in the Tartarian days.
Yeah.
Not to be wasting your precious fluid and keeping it and inseminating. That's the word. No, it's not the word. But it's a good word as well. But so what they're doing is they're dying. See, the Bible says when you eat from the tree of life, that is the ejaculation, that's the day when you will die. So if you want to be an immortal, you get taught, you used to get taught in the seminaries, the boys were taught how to use the urge of the sexual energy and steer that chariot, that whirlwind, and to procreate in themselves a man, a Christ, because you're sending the seed up. And if you teach the master in the seminary to never, ever, ever be tempted to ever, ever, ever release that fluid, you will be immortal. You will live forever. You will
Mm.
always be magical. You will never, ever forget past lives or whatever trauma you had when you were a child. You will be perfectly intact and complete. See, this is why you get injections the moment you're born. Bang, straight out of the mother's womb. Jab, 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 jab. There goes the aura, the Torah. There goes the magnetic field. In comes the invasion of who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
what it does.
Now, you mentioned a whole lot about a chrism. You were talking about this chrism, this light, this oil, that one can have ascended into their body. Now, if they conserve and preserve this chrism, right? But if they're being overly gluttonous, if they are, over ejaculating or over drinking or just being gluttonous in every way, you can see that these types of individuals they just don't have the same amount of charisma towards life, and this charisma really leads into a reduction of their attitude, right? And guys, we started this live with us talking about how our attitude determines our altitude, right? So if you want to reach a high point in life, if you want to reach your potential, you need to have a good attitude. It doesn't matter if you're eating all the, organic smoothies and doing the sauna and, doing the sweat lodges and, doing all that stuff. If you're not grateful for all of your opportunities in life, if you don't have any charisma in life, if you're treating people bad, if you're not grateful for all of your connections, then, your attitude is just going to equal your altitude, which won't be very high. But if you are very grateful and you're nurturing all of your connections and you're going deep into these connections and you're always trying to find a need and fill these needs and make sure that everyone's needs are met, and you are just adding life and adding light to all of those around you, like the sun does, because that's what the sun does. The sun finds needs and it fills these needs. Its rays are like sperm piercing the ether all around it. And that's so much as to why the sun is at home in Leo. And the glyph of Leo really mimics is really mimicking what a sperm cell looks like, because it's mimicking the nature of the sun, piercing the ether, piercing the atmosphere, piercing earth, piercing all of us with its light and its life. And we've all seen that picture of the sun as the blonde boy, and he's got the big old smile on, right? And it's so true. It's like it's this blonde boy that just always has this big, brilliant smile on, and it's just always charismatic. It always is smiling. It's never in a bad mood, right? It's never not adding light and life. You ever just see one of your friends and they just got the biggest smile, and you're just like, dang, it's just so good to see your smile. Your smile is giving me cheer right now. That's the same for what it feels like when you're getting the sun, when you're feeling the sun for the first time in 3 days or a week, or you haven't felt it in just a while, and it's like, wow, the sun is just making me feel so, so, so good right now. But guys, it all goes back to that chrism and that charisma that all of us feel when we are conserving and preserving and then raising that Christ-like oil. We can all be more Christ-like and more charismatic and add more value to all of those around us when we are preserving that chrism. Because when you are preserving that chrism, your attitude is automatically going to be higher. And when you have your chrism, you're going to have a higher amount of charisma, and everything about you is just going to be magnetic. Your energy, your excitement, your vibration is just going to be magnetic. Everyone is going to want to have your charisma around them at the party, at the event, whatever. If you are not charismatic or not excited about life, it's probably because you are exhausting your chrism. Now, Santos, if you could give a few examples as to how one could exhaust their chrism. How are people unknowingly exhausting their chrism in this world, besides just ejaculation, as you had mentioned?
Well, sex is mostly the culprit, and gluttony, but lust.
Okay, but gluttony. Now, if you could expand more on gluttony,
well,
like where could one be gluttonous?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to where I got derailed. I derailed myself. Why in 2012 I decided that's it. I'm not going to do ever again. I'm not going to ever ejaculate again. And the reason I did was for those 5 years that I was working, I found that every time I did, I felt depleted. I felt outside of myself and not centered. I would argue with my partner and have a horrible day the next day. It depressed me. Next day, it just spoils everything. Samael Aungwe'o, the writer of Sex, the video Sex, The Secret Door to the Garden of Eden, he explains that when you ejaculate, you deplete your magnetic field is open to entities, and it takes potentially months to shake those entities out of your beautiful. You should have a clean, holy aura, and that's not with holes in it. You don't want any holes in it from entities coming in. So we have to control coitus and lust, and gluttony, simply eating animals, because we don't need them. I haven't needed animal products for 18 years and I haven't died. So it's provable that the vegetarian diet, as Pythagoreans were called, vegetarians were called for 3,000 years before modern people started calling them vegetarians and vegans. Well, for 3,000 years, vegetarians were called Pythagoreans. And who do we say is the greatest genius? Like another genius, other than Pythagoras, Da Vinci, vegetarian. He said, I will not allow my body to be a graveyard for corpses, because that's what they are. They are rotting corpses. A blueberry, a strawberry, a banana is magnetism, electrical charge. So that's why vegetarians glow. That's why they're beautiful. They're sexy. They're radiant. Because they haven't contaminated themselves with animal blood. Because you cannot eat flesh without eating plasma, blood. So it's a blood addiction. That's gluttony. It's blood guilt and bloodthirstiness. That's what gluttony is. It's blood guilt and bloodthirstiness. And people are addicted to the adrenochrome because animals are tortured when they are murdered. Because you don't kill animals, you murder them. Well, that's in the case of cats and dogs, how hypocritical. If you have a dog barbecue, you go to jail as a murderer. Funny about that. Same with your little kitties. You can't have microwave cat and serve it up to your guests because they're going to report you and you'll end up in jail. But you can do it to a one-day lamb and have veal. Oh, that's so nice, isn't it? But you can't hear the mother, ma, ma, ma. I've heard the screams of thousands of cows. I used to live near a farm where they would steal the one-day veals off the cows. And you know what I'd hear? I'd fall asleep to hundreds and hundreds of cows going, ma, 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 all night long. Why? Because the gluttons, supply and demand, and the farmers don't care. Oh yeah, one day old little cow looking for its mother's tits. And we're supplying this evil, demonic, animal sacrificing, murderous cult. This is tantamount to Satanism. Where do you draw the line? You can eat dogs in China. You can go there and have a dog barbecue. But you can't do it in Australia or the USA. You go to jail. You're a criminal. Hypocrisy. You're a murderer all the same. Whoever you are that eats rotting corpse. No wonder you're not good looking and you got a lot of wrinkles and you're dying of heart attacks and filling all the hospitals with obesity, diabetes, and rheumatism and heart disease and asthma. I've never ever known. I've heard these things, but I've never ever experienced anything because I will not let or entertain any of those diseases. I had a headache when I was about 9 years old. It was a migraine, actually. Nearly split my head in two, but that's it. That's my medical history. So when the doctors say, well, what do you got? Well, I had a headache when I was 9. No arthritis, still play the guitar? Yeah. Your eyes, can you see still? Yeah, they work. My heart works. Mm-hmm. The vegetarian diet works. And besides, it's not your choice. People say, it's my choice. It's my meat. No, it's not your meat. That animal bum, the bum that you're eating, belongs to the animal. And you are what you eat. You know, bacon bum, it's bum. You're eating bum. You are what you eat. It's not yours. It's not your choice. You don't have a choice. If you have an electrical car, you can't put gas in it. You have no choice. The manual tells you you do not have a choice. You must put electricity into this car to operate it. If you have a diesel car, you have no choice. You can't put standard gas in your diesel car. There's no choice. The manual says if you put gas in here, you will blow up the motor. And that's why you flesh eaters, not vegetarians, are filling all the hospitals and supplying them with plenty of money. And you can skip the doctors if you want, like I've done all my life, and the hospitals, and eat apples, because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You don't want the doctor. But because people are gluttonous, they have to have a doctor, and they've got to carry their hemorrhoid cream with them. I don't have to worry about hemorrhoids. I don't have to worry about my ulcer. I don't have to worry about constipation. I've never been constipated one day in my life because I've been athletic, a gymnast, a runner, a horse rider. Where's Isaac? All right, invite back. Sorry. Yeah, I should have been quicker on that. So
There we are.
yeah.
Jeez, it would not let me do the request to get back on here, but we're back now. Okay, cool. Beautiful what you just went through with Santos, talking about, the origin of the term vegetarianism really being Pythagoreans. And, one of the most brilliant men ever is Pythagoras, obviously, and vegetarians were just geniuses. They were associated with being genius. Why? Because they're eating first source sunlight, thus increasing one's chrism, thus increasing one's charisma, thus increasing one's productivity, and just their whole entire auric field was more welcoming and vibrational than anyone else who doesn't have their charisma, doesn't have their chrism, doesn't have their light. You know what I mean? And it. I was watching some of the comments. They were talking about, the different forms of gluttony and how gluttony could just be over-consuming as well. Yes, of course. You want to be the first step. I think is getting rid of the gluttony, the predatorial temptations and desires that one can have really started just because you've tasted blood. If you've never heard of the gorilla experiment, there were these gorillas who were given a little bit of blood on their fruit every day for 2 weeks, and after consuming this fruit with a little bit of blood on the fruit every day for 2 weeks, eventually they desired only to have meat with blood on it, and they rejected the fruit. And how easily could that happen to humans? Well, that's exactly what has happened to most of us when we are fed bacon and eggs for breakfast growing up before we go to school, right? And that's exactly what most of us were fed going to school, bro. Most of us were fed bacon, eggs, and cheese. And so we subconsciously develop this desire to think, oh, that's what food is. That's what source is. That's what's giving me vitality and my energy. Little do we know, if we just had some raspberries and blueberries and a banana that day, we'd have much more light and life and vibrance to us to carry us through our day. And I probably could have focused in school if I ate that instead of fucking Lucky Charms or bacon and eggs. Like that's basically what my breakfast was growing up. It was either bacon and eggs or like Lucky Charms and a little Debbie snack.
Here you go, children. Here's your pig bum and chicken period for breakfast, and off to school after you have that chicken period. It's got protein in it. Well, you get protein out of fruit. Eat cucumbers, watermelon, tomatoes. That's fruit. There's broccoli, fruit. There's so much.
Peas,
Yeah.
garbanzo beans, all the legumes, all the seeds, chia seeds, everything. You can get so much protein, amino acids from the plant and fungi kingdom, which are first sources of light. It's funny, guys. We were at this bonfire last night, and there was a gentleman there who, he's not necessarily like living the life that we're all living, but this is why we do these bonfires and these get-togethers, because it's about sharing the lifestyle, right? And he's talking about, oh, I'm too far gone, and he was even drinking a couple of beers, and we didn't bring any beer, obviously. He just brought the beer to the bonfire, and he's like, oh, there's no way I could really like lead that lifestyle. But then towards the end of the night, he was talking about how he's like, yeah, even though I don't do it, I know that vegetarianism is the way. Because yeah, when you think about it, it's just that's the first source of light. Animals are second source light. They're eating the light from the fruits and vegetables after the fruits and vegetables absorb the light first. And so he's like, yeah, I get it. Like, that's really where it's at, and that's the highest form of what humans' capacity can be. And when you really think about it, guys, when you really, really think about it, and you remove yourself from all the social conditioning, all of the programming that has been forced upon you from every news outlet, every media outlet, every single billboard, magazine ad, and so on and so forth, and commercial, when you get rid of all of that, your desires to either take a knife and slit a chicken's throat and then slice it up and season it and call that food, you compare that to your desire to catch an apple that's falling off of a tree. Like, which one is taking more life and which one is giving more life? Which one is costing you more morally and physically? Which one is giving you more life physically? It's very, very simple to think about. And obviously, all of us know that it feels better to give than it does to take. And so obviously, as you're taking this chicken's life, you're not going to sit there and morally feel like, oh, okay, this is totally cool. I'm supposed to take this chicken's life, especially when the chicken is like struggling and like doing everything it can to try and stay alive, and or the cow is trying to protect its calf as you're taking away its calf because you think that you have the right to that cow's milk instead of that calf having the right to that cow's milk, when really it's the calf that needs the cow's milk. But no, you need your raw milk. You just need your raw milk because it's got all the enzymes and probiotics in there. Man, did you know that human breast milk has more enzymes and probiotics and micronutrients than cow's milk ever could? And it is actually better for you as well. And if you could just get your hands on a healthy woman's breast milk, that would be so much better for you than any type of cow's milk. But the
Milk,
cow's milk, though,
so
oh my God.
creamy. Milk. They used to try to give it to me at school, at primary school, and I always used to grab milk because that was the thing
That was the thing.
in the 60s. Little boy growing up, went to state school, primary school. they'd bring crates of milk, and I used to get my milk, go around the corner, tip it out. I mean, I was smart enough back then to know that it's fucking disgusting. It's like, you know, I don't know what to say. But you know, where were you going before before I interrupted you? By the way, sorry.
Okay, you know, we were just talking about the, you know, the different benefits of like leading a natural lifestyle of consuming the things that are naturally given to us.
Yeah.
When you think about it, when you think about Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth is very nurturing. She freely gives us these apples. She freely gives us these avocados. She freely gives us all these different fruits, right? And they freely fall from the tree. There's no cutting taking place. You don't got to cut the kale and all that stuff. Most of these things freely fall when they are ready, right? Likewise, with a mother who freely gives you her breast milk to nurture you, to give you the energy and vitality and nutrients that you need as a baby so that you can grow big and strong and develop the bones and the thinking and all the things that you need as a baby to even go from a baby to a child, right? And then however long you know, choose to consume that, or your mother raises you to consume that, that's entirely between y'all. But when you are consuming things that are freely given to you, when you think of it like that, contrary to consuming things that you had to take or someone had to take, then they gave it to you, or then you bought it. Here's the thing, guys, karmically, the food that you are getting from the cow's milk, the food that you are getting from the meat, karmically the food that you are getting from the chicken, there's more weight, there's more spiritual weight, there's more of a red aura behind this food than there is of a golden white aura that you would see around an apple, around a pineapple, around, you know, a papaya, around all these amazing fruits that are freely given to us. Every single time that you are about to put something in your mouth, ask yourself, from the original point of where it came from, was it freely given to whomever harvested it, or whomever harvested it, did they have to take it? And that's going to determine and that's going to determine how you feel after you consume that food. Because guess what? If you're consuming animal products, well, and they're in a certain frequency as they died, well, what does trauma do? Trauma gets stored into the nervous system. Well, then you're eating that trauma. And Santos, we've talked about this before, you know, when you're eating animal foods, you're basically an adrenochrome addict, because it's the adrenochrome, which is in the blood. And then you're addicted to that adrenochrome, and you're addicted to the hormones that are being pumped into the blood as they are in that fearful state. And it's what's different between that than any of these sick, twisted Hollywood actors that are actually harvesting adrenochrome from kids by scaring the shit out of these kids and then, you know, sucking on their blood in however fucking way they do it, whatever fucked up way they do it. How is that different? How is that different where you're getting excited off of the hormones from the fear in the blood in the meat? How is that different than any of these sick, twisted Hollywood actors that are actually doing the same thing with children? There is no difference. Why? Because these foods were taken from people. And that's exactly what that person just now commented. Yeah, it can cause mad cow disease, because these cows, they get mad because there's all these hormones and everything is just absolutely imbalanced. And then you get imbalanced because you're consuming those hormones, and then you get mad.
And that,
yes, Marcus. Go ahead, Santos.
and that's why those child torturing people exist, because we do that to animals, because that's the law, that what you do,
Universal law.
others will do to to you. See, the animals don't have a voice to complain about all of this. We condemn humans that eat other humans, called cannibals, but animals can't condemn humans for eating them because they don't speak. So they need people like us who are God-minded and Christened to speak for them. They're voiceless, but their cries speak of the agony, and that agony transmutes into adrenochrome loaded in your next steak. Enjoy the addiction, because it will keep you in the matrix. You will never disentangle yourself from this labyrinth of miasma and degeneracy. Look around. Look around. It's all
I love how you're
about
talking about entanglement, you know, and so much of the Hindu sects, those who are, you know, the Hare Krishnas, they talk so much about entanglement and trying to live a non-entangled life by not dealing with karma or dealing with things that are going to cause karma. And as we're consuming animal products, we're dealing with entanglement. You're gonna have to owe someone something because you took something. Whether it was a relationship that was imbalanced, a literal relational relationship, where it was just imbalanced and the guy was given more than the girl, or the girl was given more than the guy, and whatever way that was, or there's an entanglement of you're consuming this animal's milk, or there's the entanglement of you were gambling and you were taking more than you were actually giving, and eventually you lost so much that you couldn't even pay what you owed, and then you're entangled. So guys, all of these modalities is really dealing with living a non-karmic life, to where things aren't going to come back to you based on how you were going out. Why? Because it's all about giving, not taking. And that's what you you go back to, like, all these different spiritual rules and commandments. Just follow the golden rule. Just treat others the way that you want to be treated. Just do unto others as you want done unto you. And that's all life forms. It's really a beautiful thing. And when we're talking about hormones, hormones is a whole other aspect. Yeah, you're getting this adrenochrome, and that's giving you a rush, sure. And then when we're dealing with the hormones that's also inside of the meat, many men, we got to get into this subject. Many men think that we got to be consuming red meats specifically to have a high testosterone, to get the DHT and the DHEA and all of those things, and to have high testosterone, and to be performers in this life, and to be manly, and to, we got to be able to fight lions, right? Like Samson did. Samson fought the lion, right? And to be manly, you gotta have meat to do all that. Well, is that really the case, or are there other sources of superfoods out there that will handle our manly nature and still give us the ability to give more than we take? And absolutely that there are. In Santos, we just talked about you getting some more of this, but the superfood, the super tree, the pine tree is just the most powerful, beautiful, symbolic, solar, even the way that it pierces the atmosphere. It just points straight into the air, and it pierces the atmosphere the way that the sun's rays pierce the atmosphere down here. And it's, the pine cone is symbolic for the pineal gland, and we have the statue of the pine cone in the Vatican, and I would love for you to explain some more on that if you could here in a second. But then you go into the fruiting body of the pine, and you got this pine fruit that's covered in this pine pollen. And this pine pollen is really just pine sperm, because the pollen has to replicate itself. And this sperm is just absolutely loaded with micronutrients. Over 250 bioactive nutrients. It literally looks like gold dust. It looks like you just dusted gold. When you're looking at pine pollen, it looks like you just dusted gold. It has vitamin D3 in it, which is a hormone, not a vitamin really, it's a hormone. And yeah, brother, you're correct. This guy Rory Zeus, you're correct that shilajit and sea moss are some of the best superfoods. They are. Shilajit and sea moss are some of the best superfoods. But I have to say, the most empowering to men, to make men more manly and to make a man more solar and more expansive, the number one food, in my opinion, that's out there in the world is pine pollen. Why? Because it is going to give you, the man, to mimic its nature. Be fruitful and multiply. You want to go pollinate the world? Consume pine pollen. You want to be solar, you want to add value and life and light to everyone you come in contact with? Consume pine pollen. It's absolutely incredible what it will do. Not only is it like, its texture is very soft, and you can mix it with literally all superfoods. I have it in my smoothie right now. You can put it on a salad. You can put it on your tacos. You can put it on a burrito. You can put it in a bowl. You can put it literally on anything and everything. And not only is it good for men because it will make men more manly, but in addition to that, it's also adaptogenic. So it's good for the ladies as well. Listen, if you give a female sperm, any woman who is in balance inside, you put sperm inside of a female, good things are going to happen, right? If you put pine sperm, if she ingests it, those nutrients are going to adaptogenically balance out her hormones in a different way than she's ever felt before. Number one, because it's not a feminine plant. It has feminine aspects to it, but its masculinity allows the female, then this is a metaphor, its masculinity allows the female to be comfortable in her feminine. How do I know that? Anytime you have a strong masculine man and he presents himself around a female and she's not necessarily in her feminine, she's more in her masculine, the moment she comes across a masculine man, she's naturally going to divert and subvert into her feminine. Why? Because it's in her nature. It's in her biology. It's in her genetic makeup to be in her feminine. But she only moves into her masculine when she's around men that aren't in their masculine. Well, how prevalent is that in today's day and age? We have so many men, so many boys who are not in their masculine. Why? Glyphosate, parasites, pesticides, the fucking atrazine in the water, turning boys into girls, removing their penises, the fluoride in the water. You got toxins, just environmental toxins are just absolutely ridiculous, throwing off our endocrine system, throwing off our hormones, throwing off all of these things that's causing men to not be manly, which is why the average young man today has a third, not even half, a third of the testosterone that our grandparents had 100 years ago. Not only, brother, are there studies that prove that pine pollen boosts testosterone naturally, not only are there studies of it, but there's studies of the fact that pine pollen contains testosterone naturally. It is the only superfood on the plane, not planet, because it's a plane. It is the only superfood on the plane that has naturally occurring testosterone. And if you're one of those vegans out there who you're all jacked and ripped and you think that, your way of promoting veganism is to be all jacked and ripped while also taking TRT and tren and all these synthetic steroids, if you think that that's the way for you to lead people, you're misleading people. Because truly, you're not really truly leading people towards a plant-based lifestyle, you're leading them to a synthetic lifestyle. Whereas pine pollen will help you get off the testosterone replacement therapy, it'll help you get off the tren, it'll help you get off any synthetics that you are taking because you do not need the synthetics. Are you synthetic? Are you made of plastic? Are you half AI? Are you half drone? Are you half robot? Do you need synthetics like that? No. You're God. You are made in the image and likeness of God. So you need naturals and you need things that have naturally occurring micronutrients. And pine pollen has naturally occurring testosterone, naturally occurring vitamin D, naturally occurring full amino acid profile, vitamins A through E, over 250 bioactive nutrients are inside of pine pollen. So to overcome all the different hormonal imbalances that we've been getting from environmental toxins and animal products and all of these things in this world, consuming something like pine pollen will get you back to your divine nature. Santos, you've been on pine pollen before. We're excited to get some down to you right now from Canadian pine pollen, which, by the way, guys, for all of you, there's a lot of people commenting, Santos, on how to get some. You guys can all go to CanadianPinePollen.com. Okay, go to CanadianPinePollen.com. Santos now has his own affiliate code on there. You can use the code syncretism. It will not only help you get some pine pollen, but it will also help support Santos and syncretism as a whole. And you will get some absolutely incredible pine pollen shipped to your front door, whether it's in the tincture form or in the powdered form. You can add the powder, like I said, on top of your bowls, on your salads, in your smoothie, really in your chia pudding, on top of anything. I love the powder. The powder is absolutely incredible. Yes, it ships to Australia. And then the tincture is incredible as well, because when you take the tincture and you hold it under your tongue for 30 seconds, it goes straight into the blood, and it's literally almost the exact same thing as inoculating yourself with steroids. But this is God's steroids. It's really what it is. Again, guys, we're talking about summer solstice today, right? We're talking about what it means to be a solar individual. If you want to increase your solar capabilities, you want to be increasing your solar foods. And pine pollen is one of those very, very solar foods. To repeat that, I'll just pin it in the comments, guys. Or actually, I don't think that I can even pin the comments. Santos would have to do that. Yeah, CanadianPinePollen.com. CanadianPinePollen.com. Use code syncretism to save 15%. Okay? That'll help support Santos, syncretism, and you. And finally, I mean, Santos, I would love for you to expand some more on this, but just even consuming the pollen will help decalcify your pineal gland and help heighten your own intuition. It's really, honestly, truly, truly incredible what the pollen can do for you. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
At the new moon, if you take turpentine, pure gum turpentine, I like to take 5 drops. In the 1800s, before Rockefeller, this was in everyone's medicine cabinet, number one. Number one. This was the first thing that came with everyone's medicine cabinet before the Rockefeller's medicine. Right? See that word turpentine? Terpenes. Yeah. It's the terpenes that here I've extracted. This is from the pine forest here.
Yeah, nice.
This has been extracted from the resin of the pine. It was done for me by a friend. We went and harvested the resin, and then we made this, right? So I use this. That's pine, turpentine. I mean, what else do I use with pine? I have the resin here. I've had the Purium one before. I've had it twice, I believe.
Yep.
there are so many products from pine. I mean, when you put it on your hands, like, I mean, you can tell, this stuff just goes into your hands. You ain't going to get no arthritis when you're 62, like all the other flamenco guitarists that I grew up with, and listening to. They've all got sausage fingers arthritis, and their playing is gone. So,
Mm.
so what is this? It's not an animal product. People say, "Oh yeah, put some collagen on there," and yeah, you need collagen to get rid of those wrinkles. You're 62 now, and you got all this. You know, you look like a dried prune. Just you need collagen. Get that murdered animal on your face. Where do you draw the line? Now they're putting, penis foreskin byproduct on their faces. Yeah, right. Sandra Bullock, yeah, and Oprah Winfrey, and where do you draw the line? Some people draw the line at cannibalism. Others draw the line at eating animals, right? So this is not murder. You know, it didn't hurt the pine tree. The pine tree gives it,
Freely
and
gives it.
yeah, and I put it all over my body. It's because it's got testosterone in it and terpenes. So terpenes, what are they good for? I was trying to look that up, but I'm so slow with typing. And terpenes are a large and diverse class of organic compounds produced by a wide. Okay. Benefits. Okay, potential benefits. Let's be um, careful. Research suggests that pinene may have various potential benefits, including, well, suggests. Okay, anti-inflammatory properties, broncho bronchodilator, mental focus and energy, memory, big one.
Mm.
Insect repellent, antimicrobial and antiseptic property. That's just a
Mm.
That's just a few. This is never ever ending. The benefits of having 4 or 5 drops of this under your tongue every day is like the best maintenance. All of that testosterone, all the terpenes. This is the. Don't get mineral terps at the hardware store. This is pure gum, resin, turpentine.
Santos, real quick, two things. Could you pull up some of the benefits of what it says pine pollen itself specifically has and kind of read off some of that and your thoughts on that? But while you're looking that up, I will also ask you the question, what is the metaphor for the pine cone representing the pineal gland, and why would the Vatican have an absolutely massive statue of a pine cone in the Vatican? Why would they have that there?
Well, it was already there because they stole it off the Tartarians who knew all about this
Okay.
science. The church doesn't do that stuff. Please, I mean, listeners, remember, it was already there. It was already sacred, and they usurped it, co-opted it, and use it for their control. So it's there to teach us about the pine and the pineal gland, and here are the pollen, pine pollen benefits. Okay, so let's have a look. Pine pollen is a good source of all 20 amino acids, including essential ones like isoleucine, vitamins B, vitamins E, minerals, calcium, magnesium, and others. Antioxidants such as flavonoids, big one for vegetarians and vegans, flavonoids.
Why
Other
is that?
bioactive
Why is that a big one for vegetarians and vegans?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I can't tell you why, because it has something to do with the digestion, and especially when it comes to what what is in all vegetables. What's in all vegetables?
Oxalates?
Yeah, and there's another one too. There's another word, but
Chlorophyll?
anyway, it helps in the digestion of that.
Okay.
I believe. Okay, so, but the reason why I said that it is an important one is that I had a friend in Australia 6 or 7 years ago who his main thing was flavonoids. That was his subject, and it's a shame that I didn't really, take notes. But he told me many times what flavonoids do and everything. I probably wasn't in the right mood, so I won't be able to answer that. But
That's okay. We'll
that's
get back to it.
an antioxidant. Okay, so. And it says other bioactive compounds, including phytosterols and gibberellins. And this is just off Google search, right? So you can imagine what the alchemists know more than these guys. They will only tell you the obvious ones because anyone who's got two brain cells active already knows that, so it's got to be there, right? But the real stuff is they won't tell you about is the unseen things which the minerals give you, which is spiritual insight. Pine products, this is how you spiritualize. You get rid of the devils with this in your body. You alkalize your body. No oxidants hang around when you're taking a few drops of these a day.
Santos, now if you could refine your or define your search a little bit more, pine pollen natural testosterone benefits. Then I want to see just what comes off the top of your head just from you reading those things. Pine pollen natural testosterone benefits. And then for those of you who keep commenting about what's the best cleanse for everyone to take, we'll get into that, guys, after we talk about the pine pollen. And then we'll go back to talking about the solstices and wrap the live up here shortly. Pine pollen natural testosterone benefits.
Improved energy and vitality, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties, nutrient rich, improved energy and vitality. There you go. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Is there an image? Is that just what the AI search says at the top of Google? Maybe if you click images, it'll, give you a more in-depth breakdown in one of those images.
I don't know, I've got a problem with my keyboard here, man. My spacebar is not working.
Oh, okay.
I think something wet went down there or something, but this is weird. I hope my keyboard problems haven't come back. Remember that about 9 months ago? The hell I went through with my keyboard. Oh yeah, it works. Okay, so now I can do a better search. Sorry about that. So you're looking at what images?
Yeah, the naturally occurring testosterone benefits in the images. Yeah, click the images.
All right. So antioxidant contains a high amount of free radical scavenging, powerful antioxidant. Anti-aging helps to regenerate skin and nourish it on a cellular level. Slows aging process. This is a goodie. Adrogenic, natural bioavailable source of testosterone and androsterone. Heart health lowers cholesterol and raises superoxide dismutase levels. Aphrodisiac, there you go for all you horny people. Naturally increases libido, check. Improves sexual functions, check. Okay, immune help. Enables body to fight infections and better deal with environmental stress.
Now, going back to that androgynous portion, could you read a little bit more on that and like just what some of your thoughts are on that and why we may need these androgynous benefits when living on a plant-based lifestyle and not having any TRT or tran or animal products?
It's adro, not andro. So androgenic,
Yeah.
yeah, or yeah, natural, highly bioavailable source of testosterone and androtestosterone. Sorry, you got androtestosterone.
Yeah.
You got it. So testosterone would be testa means the head, and andro, of course, is man. So that's a new word for me. So I'm going to have to look at it because it's already spiked my curiosity when it has and in it, andros, and DNA, Dan, Adan, and that's all it is. Everything's DNA. Dan, andros, the man, the woman. You know, it's all the man. So,
and when you think about a pine tree, it's so masculine. It's just, as I said, it's piercing the atmosphere the same way. It's like a phallic. It's like a phallus, right? And it's it's going to make you more phallic-like, more piercing, more charismatic, more glowing. You're either going to be bright and green like this literal pine tree, or glow gold like the pollen.
Yeah. So the word I was looking for before when we were talking about sacred sex was fecundate. When the boy is taught to ejaculate, he fecundates his higher mind. But when you release and deplete the energy down below, you are depleting the chrism from the claustrum and the fluid that goes to your brain, and you age. That's how you die, by ejaculating. Ejaculation equals death. Non-ejaculating equals life and vitality and charisma. Because, as you said, chrism gives you charisma. Now, I don't see many old prostitutes in their 40s and 50s and 60s that look like they've got a lot of charisma left. Neither do I see men who, have one-night stands every night or have, ejaculate 3 times a day. Neither do I see much charisma in them, unless it's the synthetic one like steroids and those super drinks and all that aborted baby fetus product stuff, unless comes from that. But we're just breathing and eating apples and not hurting anyone and speaking up for the animals.
That's right. Maintaining our charisma, being charismatic, and having a glow to you, having a magnetic nature to you. Why? Because you're not exhausting your own inner chrism, and your own inner chrism produces your own charisma. Of course. And guys, pine pollen is going to help you add to your own charisma because it's going to. Okay, let's say hypothetically that you're just now getting on your journey. You're just now getting on your spiritual journey. You're just now starting to practice the retention. You're just now starting to give up the meat. You're just now starting, okay? You're just now starting to give up the degeneracy, okay? You want to get on the path. You want to walk the path clearly. Give yourself all of the superfoods available so that you can maintain and attain all of the needs that you have within, while simultaneously cutting off all parasitic worms that are causing you to leak your energy out. And these parasitic worms could be relational and they could be physical. You know, these parasitic worms of uh, uh, causing you to have leaky sexual energy, leaky charism like energy. You're literally leaking your charism out. And or these types of relationships that are causing you to have leaky physical energy, where you're being influenced on what to eat because you're always around your friends and you think, oh, if I eat super healthy, my friends are going to judge me and not accept me because I'm not eating like them anymore. Or you're having leaky physical energy, where you're not even being influenced by your friends, you're just a slave to your own desires inside, and you're a slave to these worms inside, and these worms are the ones that are getting you to have these cravings. But when you cut off the worm parasitic like relationships or friendships, and then you cut off the literal worms within, the parasites within, your desires to have this leaky like nature where you're constantly exhausting your charisma, those desires are going to dissipate. Those desires are going to leave. And then you're going to only want to attain and maintain and preserve your own inner charisma, your own inner charism, as well as only consume that which has life and light on your plate. You will want nothing but light and life on your plate. If you see any death in your plate, death could look like cooked food. It could look like a steak. It could look like a fucking Beyond Burger, but it's dead food. Whether it's cooked, it's a steak, it's a Beyond Burger, whatever. If it has no literal aura to it, it's dead food. The enzymes aren't alive. It's not going to help you digest that food. If it's going to be inflammatory to your body, if
because I don't run behind big ass.
Sorry.
what in the hell was that?
I mean, I just pulled up a video that I want to show you about
Okay.
a 90-year-old man who doesn't ejaculate and is a vegetarian, and how young he looks. Just keep going.
I'll shut up. I'll shut up. Let's play the video. It's all good. Let's do
Okay.
it. Turn the camera around though, so we can all see it.
I know.
Okay.
I want to. Oh, what did I do?
You
Wait a
probably
minute.
minimized it on accident.
Yeah, I've got to do it again.
And so when you cut off
Here we
these
go.
parasites, okay, there you go.
Why does I hate when they don't put?
That'll kill you.
Right,
Y'all young men,
let's-
y'all be screwing all these hoes out here. That's
Here
why
we go.
y'all come up with all. I'm 95 years old.
You're 95
That's
years old.
right,
You
that's
look
right.
good for 95.
That's because I don't run behind big asses and titties. That'll kill you. Y'all young men, y'all be screwing all these hoes out here. That's why y'all come up with arthritis and rheumatism. Your eyesight go bad. Your hair starts coming out. When you overfuck yourself, you bring arthritis on yourself. Every time you drop that seed in her,
Yeah.
your bone marrow and all that stuff from your head to your toe goes inside of her. And when you have intercourse with your girlfriend, who always fall asleep first? The man.
Yeah, I fall.
And when you wake up, she done stole your wallet, stole your car keys, she gone about her business.
Yeah, I got to get that shit back.
Well, you better kill her then. You have to eat right. Stay away from McDonald's and Burger King. Don't drink sodas.
No soda, no pussy, no McDonald's.
Yeah, yes. The biggest, you can eat, but stay away from that pussy. If you ain't gonna marry that woman, don't stick your dick up in her. You don't know what disease she got.
No, stay away
and now
from that
all the women got coronavirus.
Yeah.
I
They
have
got that corona.
Yeah, oh, hell yeah.
That corona pussy.
Don't stick your little 2-inch dick in every asshole that's out there. I'm 95 years old.
You're 95
That's
years old.
right,
You
that's
look
right.
good for 95.
That's because I don't run behind big asses and titties. That'll kill you. Y'all young men, y'all be screwing all these hoes out
Okay,
here. That's
it's
why y'all
replaying it now, Santos.
Yeah. I just realised. Okay, so it is rejuvenating because now why would you take the ejaculation option when it's basically just what is in common parlance called a quickie? Why would you want to have 3-second? You see these guys, they have this explosive orgasm, ejaculation, and they just turn into jelly, and then the next thing you know, and the woman hasn't even warmed up yet, right?
Yeah.
So why would you release when you can hold it? It's quite easy. Just control your muscles down there. and breathe. Why wouldn't you control it and go for 6 hours and give a woman some decent pleasure and then wake up the next day with not sore knees and more energy? Because what you're doing is when you're practicing that kind of sex, you're charging your battery. How you flatten the battery is by spilling the seed, right?
Yeah.
So Muhammad Ali, he always used to say, the guys, the guys who lose, that's because they had sex the night before. You don't have a sex for a month before you have a fight.
Yeah.
Because it'll weaken your knees. You won't have any hips. You won't have any liver. You won't have knees. You won't have thighs. Your legs will turn to jelly. You see those heavyweight boxers in the 6th round, after they've gone at it, they start. You can see they're sweating, and you can see their legs shaking, and it's a different game, right? So they know about sex. Mike Tyson spoke about it. Bruce Lee spoke about it. He said the magic comes from not ejaculating and having sex.
Absolutely. And, it's that alchemical process of raising that chrism as well and back into the pineal gland and really truly embodying what that Christ-like charisma energy can be like, where, if you're going to do things that he did in greater, well, you probably want to be doing the things to maintain your charisma that they were teaching. And these are one of those things, to not be overly gluttonous. And that gluttony can be consumption. And that consumption can be being overconsumptive with sex, overconsumptive with food, overly consumptive with degenerate activity, just overly consumptive rather than creative. There's this YouTube channel that I'll listen to, like, some other mantras and stuff sometimes, and it's just called "You Are Creators," and I just love the YouTube channel's name because it's so true. It's like just trying to remind everyone that we are creators, not consumers. We really are creators, and it's that Christ within, it's that chrism within that reminds us of our charismatic, creative nature. And so if you're wanting to reboost your creative solar nature, guys, pine pollen is one of those absolutely incredible superfoods that will help you do so, to help you strengthen your reserves within, number one. Number two, Santos, we got to end the live here shortly, but I want to talk briefly about cleanses. We've had a lot of comments in the comment section, people asking about cleanses. You've done the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation by Purium multiple times. You got products on the way right now. We were at the farmer's market this morning, and this lady was talking about this cleanse that she's getting ready to do, and we started asking her little questions about it, and we eventually find out that it's Zen Cleanse that she's getting ready to do. And she's talking about, though, how she's so depleted while cleansing, and she has no energy. And I was like, well, have you ever heard of Super Amino 23? And she's like, no, what's that? And I said, oh, well, it's this, pre-digested, plant-based amino acids that go straight to the working muscle in 23 minutes. It skips all of your organs and it goes straight to your muscles in 23 minutes, so that you're maintaining energy and muscle mass while cleansing, so that you can maintain productivity as well while cleansing. And I know that you were on Zen Cleanse before, prior to ever finding Purium. What has, incorporating the Super Amino 23, the Power Shake, and all the different other Purium modalities, what have those done for you, in addition to all the other cleansing modalities, so that you can maintain your energy levels in really solar nature?
Well, it's electrolyte, acid, enzyme factor. The holy trinity. It's enzyme being cultivated without anything added other than the minerals in the soil by conscious people who, are not taking shortcuts, are not tricking, doing cheap
Farming practices.
alternatives or anything like that. This is quality. You know, this is how you get out of. Besides the fact that you're getting health benefits, you get wealth benefits because, well, when you share it with someone, which is what you should do when you find a good thing,
Yeah.
you give them your discount code, and then guess what? The company, unlike the corporation, gives you a kickback. You know, if I said, "Look, hey, I've got Nike sneakers, man," to all my friends, and I get 10 sales for them, and I call up the office and say, "Hey, Nike, I've got written signatures here by 10 guys because I wanted a signature and proof that I've sold 10 sneakers for you, right?
Yeah.
Should
Yeah.
I? You send me here are my details. Can you send me a check?" Hello, hello. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
They
so
don't
true.
give a shit about you, man. They're paying 3 cents an hour to Chinese slaves to make those. They don't give a shit about you. And then we complain, "Oh, that's $100 to get that product. Oh my God!" But the alternative is you're going to be walking through the doors of a hospital one day or a doctor. That's the alternative. You have to spend good money to have a good product. When I made my albums, I paid top dollar for the best session musicians to play the keyboards, the percussions, the horn, the drums, the saxophone in all my music, right? Because I didn't know all that. The best musicians in Australia. I went to the best studio, Kick Studios in South Melbourne. I recorded 5 albums there. I used the best engineers, the best mixers, and the best masterers. Steve Scanlon, thank you for mastering all my albums.
Yeah.
Now my albums are still selling on all the platforms, and I haven't played a lick of music for publicly for 13 years, and I'm still getting royalties from my music because I put the money in. You know how many better musicians than me recorded their great music in their garage with cheap equipment,
Mm.
and when they go on to CD Baby or whoever to put their uh, art online, they get a letter back saying, "Sorry, the quality is not good
Mm.
enough." Because if you're on a platform like selling your music, you're going to have to have that mixed and mastered and really, really good quality to get on there. And there's so many great musicians that lived their whole lives and forgot about doing all these things and putting good money into it. And you know, how many musicians do you find that all of a sudden they're bankrupt? Michael
Right.
Jackson bankrupt or something, right? Elvis Presley or whoever, the greatest, all gone bankrupt. Lots of actors, right? So yeah,
You get
there
what you
are
pay for. That's
yeah,
it. You get what you pay for in life. And because you paid for high quality recording equipment, what you recorded now, 13 years later, 14, 15 years later, is still paying you. You're still able to pay your rent. You're still able to pay your bills because you made the investment in the beginning back then.
yes, it's just word of mouth because if you get 5 stars near your music, someone else is going to buy it. If it's not good, the person who buy it won't give a good review on your music, and it won't sell. So it's word of mouth that's paying my rent,
Yeah.
right? And the fact that I put the money in. I spent a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
On average, back in the 90s when I started recording, through to 2007, I averaged out about 20,000 an album. I think
Wow.
20 to 30,000, and in those days, that's a lot of money. And I was using Pro Tools, all the best, recording stuff. We did it all on Pro Tools, and again, the studio went on to the guys that produced my music there. They produced Havana Brown. one of the most famous DJs in history, Havana Brown. And so they closed their studio when she took off around the world, and they managed her, you know. So, and the guy who produced it, Vinny Del Tito, he used to be on Young Talent Time. Young Talent Time was an Australian show where little kids, young children who were talented, would go onto Johnny Young's show called Young Talent Time. So Vinny was one of the last ones before the show closed down. Then he owned Peak Studios, and he is the partner of Havana Brown.
And none of that could have happened if these people weren't making these proper investments, correct?
Yeah, yeah. See, I didn't want to put an album out and uh, uh, just not have quality and substance, right? So I wanted to do it properly. So I invested the money in it, to have it be the best possible that it could be.
I don't know if you ever heard this saying, Santos, but they say that you can't feel like $1,000,000 living off the dollar menu. And there's a lot of people who want to live off the dollar menu, yet run to their doctor when something is going wrong in their body because they've made the decision to live off the dollar menu. Instead of making the proactive investment of treating their body like it's an absolute mansion and then wanting to decorate this mansion with the most beautiful art and furniture within it, and you're just putting the most beautiful investments into your body, which is truly your only real home. That's really what it is. Your home, or your body, is your only real home. All these other external homes are a product of how you are treating your real home, which is your body within. And the more that you're putting good food, good investments into this body, the more that everything around you is going to start to shine and glow as well. But if you don't find yourself with the ability to spend $13 a day, which is what the ultimate lifestyle transformation costs, to have 2 all organic raw meal replacements per day. Guys, these are all organic raw meal replacements that are grown in virgin soil. Okay, this virgin soil is from a volcanic ash bed that has naturally occurring fulvic acid and humic acid in it. The soil, just the soil, has naturally occurring fulvic and humic acid in the soil. It's never been exposed to pesticides. Then it's on 4,000 acres of unadulterated land that's producing superfoods unlike anything you've ever tasted or touched before. It's absolutely incredible. What Purium has done is kind of recreated a Garden of Eden of sorts, and has been able to ship it all around the world. We're not open in every country, but we can ship it to your country if you do freight forwarding. We're open in the United States, Canada, and Europe. And if you do want it shipped to you in Australia or somewhere else outside of that, you could just reach out to us and we'll show you which website to use to get it shipped to you. But truly, guys, it's $13 a day for this cleanse. It comes with 2 all organic raw meal replacements per day, a parasite cleanse, which is going to get rid of those worms that are parasitic in your life, causing cravings, stealing nutrients, driving you to want animal products and sugary foods and processed foods that just aren't serving you or helping you reach your highest potential, number 1. It's also going to get rid of pesticides, which is causing C-reactive protein, which is causing an inflammatory marker, which is C-reactive protein in your body. It's going to get rid of that by 74% in 6 weeks, while simultaneously getting rid of the glyphosate inside of your body by 75% in 6 weeks. And so we're getting rid of the pesticides, the parasites, and heavy metals, because the greens in there are binding to the heavy metals and then pulling them out, while simultaneously nourishing with all organic raw superfoods, in addition to the super amino 23, which is pre-digested plant protein, And it's better for you than any other plant protein out there. It's better for you than Sun Warrior. It's better for you than Truvani. It's better for you than Orgain or all of these other brands. You guys can name the organic brand on the Whole Foods shelf, Trader Joe's shelf, or Air One shelf. I don't care what brand you list. It doesn't matter. Super Amino 23 is more digestible. Why? Because we got the clinical studies to prove it. 99% net nitrogen utilization. What's the nitrogen? The nitrogen is what usually, typically, goes down the catabolic pathway. And that nitrogen actually turns into waste. And that nitrogen actually turns into poop. Well, guess what? When you're having a bunch of pea protein or a bunch of whatever other protein that you're having out there, you're going to get a bunch of nitrogen that turns into waste, which turns into poop. And that extra acid on your body is either going to leave via poop or it's going to get calcified in your joints somewhere. And so if you don't want to deal with any of that calcification, or you don't want to be having big acidic poops all the time, and you want to just skip all that, garbage in, garbage out, right? You can skip all of that process and get more gains with Super Amino 23. And Super Amino 23 is an absolutely unparalleled product on the marketplace. It's truly a savior. There's many people out there who have gone plant-based and done it incorrectly, and they live that processed food, plant-based lifestyle because they bought into the Bill Gates Beyond Burger, whatever. And even me, guys, in the beginning of my vegan journey, that was me. I was trying to pursue some of the Dr. Sebi stuff too, and all of that, but I also thought that I could get away with having some Beyond Burger and having this and having that. And I was a processed food vegan, and until I found Purium, my health was deteriorating quickly. And I didn't realize that it was the processed foods causing all of this. And then once I got off of the processed foods, I started adding the superfoods like Purium. I did the parasite pesticide cleanse. In addition to me supplementing with other superfoods like sea moss and shilajit and the pine pollen, that's when I got myself back to homeostasis. So if you really want to get yourself to homeostasis and be maxing out your potential, and turning your potential into performance rather than leaving potential on the table, what you want to be doing is cutting off all the fig trees that aren't bearing fruit in your life. You want to uproot them. That's parasites in your gut. That's leaky relationships in your life. That's leaky friendships in your life. So you want to uproot those fig trees, plant fig trees that will bear fruit, right? And then just double down and start caring for those fig trees. And what are those fig trees? Those fig trees are superfoods. Those fig trees are the ultimate lifestyle transformation. That's pine pollen, that's shilajit, that's sea moss, that's consuming these superfoods that are going to be micronutrient rich, full of light. That's what we're talking about today, guys. What are micronutrients? It's light. That thing that's glowing on my face right now, ultra weak photon emissions. That's what this is. This is an ultra weak photon emission, and this emission goes into our food and turns into minerals. We then consume those minerals, and those minerals are what give us vitality. Macronutrients are cool to help you feel good, whatever. Micronutrients give you light. They give you energy. They give you vitality. And that's truly going to be what heals your auric field. And so, Santos, if you could, if you have any thoughts that you want to finish off the live with, I got to get going here soon, but if you want to talk anything about what the ultimate lifestyle transformation has done for you or what you've seen it do for anyone in your team, and then any final thoughts on the Solstice, if you want to share.
Well, it's nourished me. I know because the proof is in the pudding. You take it if you feel good, and it works, then it's good. I want to recommend that people get the apothecary. This is very, very important for the malic acid, and learn to do liver flushes at the new moon. So Wednesday coming will be the new moon, and I'll be doing my monthly liver flush with the olive oil and the citrus, according to how Andreas Moritz, I'll say it again, Andreas Moritz, who was murdered for teaching this, because liver means to live, and the happiest day of my month is the new moon, because I do a liver flush the night before, and the next day I've got dopamine, serotonin, ecstasy, bliss, and happiness. And it lasts the whole month. But that's
Yeah,
the happiest of my month, the new moon. Simply
yeah.
because, but see, the apothecary is rich in malic acid. So 6 days before, that's why you should be getting it now for the next new moon cycle. For 6 days, you drink a liter of water with a tablespoon of apothecary in it. It'll last you a year. Grab a bottle of apothecary from Purium. It will last you a year of liver flushes. You put a tablespoon of a liter of water, right? Shake it up, and you're sipping on that all day long for 6 days. Then on the new moon, you do the liver flush and be happy. Now, the other thing I want to finish off with is we were talking about the cross. The tropical science of astrology is Christian, and if you want to do another live soon, otherwise I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to show. I'm going to do a show on a podcast on astrology, and I'm going to show you how tropical astrology and only tropical astrology can explain the events that are happening today. I'm going to show you
Only.
why there is war going on right now and how Mars and Saturn are causing this war
Yeah.
in the tropical system and only in the tropical system. And this will prove without a doubt, beyond any possibility, that tropical astrology is the true science. I will do that in about 10 minutes. So either you and I do it, or I'm going to do it on Patreon, but I'm going to do it
Cool, bro.
because the wars that are happening and the attrition is because of the two malefics that just changed signs in tropical.
Yep.
Saturn on May the 24th in Aries, war, and then Mars just a
Just the other
few
day.
days ago
Yeah.
hopped into Virgo, which is Mercury's sign, and when Mars and Mercury get together, wars and economy is destroyed in Virgo. So, yeah, let's enjoy that and see how the tropical Christian science of astrology, and see the work of William Lilly, I think his name is, 500 years ago, the Christian science of astrology. Yeah, read that work.
Brilliant, brilliant. And guys, as we're going into the solstice, and I encourage everyone to watch Santos explaining that. I do have to go here, but as you're going into the solstice, remember what Santos brought up earlier. Remember that this is a portal day, and yes, tropical astrology is the only way to be able to prove what's currently taking place worldwide right now. I mentioned the Mars squaring Uranus. We were talking about Saturn and Neptune and Aries. All these different things, and you only see this in tropical astrology that can point to war or high tension, right? Simultaneously, understand that the chart loads the gun. Okay? The chart loads the gun. You and your decisions based on your belief system is what pulls the trigger. That's what determines the latitude and the longitude of the potential of that chart. I'm not a fated astrologer. I don't believe that astrology itself is fated. There's fated aspects to it, certainly, absolutely, there are fated aspects to it. But we, as the collective, and our collective consciousness, as well as what we collectively believe, like we all believe currently that it's 2025, that's why we're operating based on the idea that it's 2025, but we know that there's so much proof out there that it's not really 2025. They added a number to the end of the 100 years, and it's probably really only like 1,025 or something like that. But because the collective consciousness believes it's 2025, we're all operating based on that frequency. And so what I'm encouraging you all to do right now and to do for the rest of the night is to be in a very peaceful, grateful, charismatic frequency for the rest of the evening. Why? Because you are finishing off a porthole day, a hole, and you are going into a 90-day hallway, right? There's a hallway you're going to be walking through for the next 90 days until we go into the autumnal equinox. And that autumnal equinox is we're going to be standing at a door again. And then the frequency that you're in when you're going through that door is going to determine what that hallway is going to look like going into winter solstice. And so I'm just telling you guys all of this. I'm telling all of you this to say that, you know, believe big, because small dreams don't have any magic. You know, our attitude truly does determine our altitude. The moment that we look down is the moment that we start to drown. But we keep our eyes on heaven, we keep our eyes on Christ. We can walk on water. And Christ, Jupiter, in Cancer, is really helping all of us remember what it feels like to be able to walk on water again. Because Zeus himself, Jesus, is in Cancer, guardian of Mother Earth, and you got Cancer on the rising sign in Earth. Watch Santos explain what. Um, it's breaking up, Santos. I can't. What'd you say, brother?
Well, ancestry and memory. So Jupiter's going to help us to remember for the next year
Yes,
in Cancer, the sign of the moon.
absolutely.
Memory. Water. Mem is water.
Mm. Well, all right, brother. I really appreciate the live today. It's
Yep.
been beautiful, guys. We'll make a bunch of clips from this live. Really appreciate all of y'all's time. I will post links on this post about where you can get the ultimate lifestyle transformation to do the parasite pesticide cleanse, where you can get pine pollen and support Santos, how you can book readings from the both of us, so on and so forth. Love y'all. Love you, Santos. We'll chat soon here, brother. See you guys. Peace.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.